is the Pegasus Podcast, presented by Night Sports Now. UCF news, views, and a few hot takes. Now, here are your hosts, Bailey Go Knights Adams and Christian Charge On Simmons.
Welcome into episode 245. Be sure you're following us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at ByCA Simmons, at Night Sports Now, at Pegasus Podcast. You can also email us at Pegasus Podcast by ksn@gmail.com. UCF lost 28-14 to Utah, fell to 4-8 on the season. While our intro video was playing, we found out that RJ Coulson has entered the transfer portal. So I guess we want to start there.
I guess this just became – we have no notice. This happened while the intro was playing. All right, RJ Coulson, he had a letter that there's no way he had typed in between when the game ended and now has been posted. I'm not going to read all of this.
No,
I'm sure it's the typical. I'm not going to read it for. This is shocking. I'm sorry. The intro was playing, and Trace Trilko of Sons of UCF messaged both of us and said, "Heads up, the quarterback of the future is now going to be the future of some other team." This does not surprise me in any way, shape, or form. I think we even said, was it 1 or 2 podcasts ago that we figured he was going to enter the portal? And this whole situation is. I mean, yeah, it was literally we talked about this 1 or 2 weeks ago. Is that if you're RJ Coulson, why would you? We have a video podcast, Bailey, so you're just
I know, but you're talking, so okay, I can read
fine.
this.
You can go act like a turtle hiding in its shell, and I'll talk. And if you're RJ Coulson, you come in, you reclassify to come to UCF. You had other big-time offers. He was a big-time player, and you get here. You're randomly told you're surprised you're going to be the starter because KJ Jefferson isn't working out. You get out there. You are fine. You are just unfortunately happen to be the quarterback who was throwing the ball to Johnny Richardson when he fumbles. Then you get benched and get no other opportunity. They just go, well, Jakari's our guy. He's the guy. Then they switch to Risk. I don't know what was going on by the time Risk came around. I don't know what was up there. But EJ then randomly gets back in tonight because Risk had a bad night. I mean, just really, really rough. He was missing basic. I don't know what was going on. He was just whiffing on basically every throw. It was like he was just shut off tonight. EJ gets back in. EJ throws a pick six. This might be the first ever UCF game where multiple quarterbacks have thrown pick sixes. I don't know, or for UCF, I mean, but either way, all that to be said, we somehow saw RJ Coulson for the last time in a UCF uniform like an hour ago.
You know what's funny?
And he's now in the portal.
He threw his touchdown pass, and I was thinking, or even before he threw the touchdown, I'm thinking, if EJ scores here, I'm like, I'm going to have the thought, is this like the only touchdown we're ever going to see him score for UCF?
And you'd be correct.
Sure enough, it was. I don't really know. Wow. I'm like, I don't know. I had nothing prepared because, again, this happened while we had pressed the record button, and in between the video starting and me doing the intro was how much time I had to gather my thoughts, which was no time. I'm disappointed because I figured and thought he would be QB1 next year. I just kind of I knew there would be like whatever battle, maybe they bring somebody in, whoever. But I feel like I would have been most excited if he was going to be the guy going forward, at least getting him a shot. I don't know. There's no point, I guess, analyzing what he did tonight, but
there was actually literally no point at all of it. Yeah,
there were moments where I was like, I see the flashes there, and
this is what I love about the Gus Malzahn era at UCF is when I woke up this morning, UCF had vibrant options at the quarterback position for 2025. You had Dylan Risk, who'd been playing well in 3 starts. You had RJ Coulson, who we all know could be like a future savior type, and you had Jakari Brown, who also existed. And then tonight happened, and Dylan Risk is terrible, and RJ Coulson is no longer a Knight.
Jakari Brown also played.
Jakari Brown also played. They played all 3 tonight. I was relentlessly joking in the press box that I was like, you have to put KJ out there, like just for the meme. Like it's like funny. The last snap of the season should be KJ's. But yeah, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about EJ much more, obviously, in the coming weeks, months, and years. But I just
don't know if we will.
Well, we will when he's tearing it up at some other team. But Tommy Castellano's coming home is going to be hilarious. But I don't. This is just example number 9 billion of Gus mismanaging the quarterback room. This is entirely on him. They decided to start EJ in a weird time when it was an odd decision. They benched him for something that wasn't his fault. Like they treated him like trash this year. And yeah, he chose to transfer, and that's fine. And speaking of treating quarterbacks like trash, Fox showed video of Gus Malzahn looking at Dylan Risk on the sideline, who's explaining what happened after a bad drive, seeing him and going. And if you're listening to the audio version, Gus did that like old person thing where you it's like warding off a person, like take your hand, like push them away. And he has this like mean look on his face. It was just, And people were pointing out Dylan Risk did a similar motion to Gus earlier in the game when Gus was trying to say something to him. That's bad too. Dylan Risk is a kid. Gus Malzahn's the head coach of the team. That's a weird thing to see your head coach. I mean, that is a really wild
I've never
thing to
seen
see.
anything like it.
I've never seen a head coach do that to a player, to look at them after they had a bad drive and just do this and like just angrily push them off. And look, I mean, we're all sitting here waiting to find out who else had pre-written essays on why they're entering the portal, because I guess now anything could strike. But
Yep.
I mean, we're all sitting here waiting to find out what Gus's future is. It doesn't feel like a change is coming. That seems to be the vibe out there right now. And we'll see if that holds. Now, that being said, that was all we'd heard before this game. Getting beaten up on and uncompetitive at home against a team that has not won since September is, I mean, this was the low point of the season. When every time I thought it could not get worse, it got worse. And this was very bad. And EJ Coulson hitting the portal was just insult to injury. I don't want to repeat my monologue on why Gus probably should be back next year for the billionth time. There will be many more podcasts for that, but this is so over. I mean, it's just, I don't know what the possible map would be on how they're going to recover this in this era. And you think EJ Coulson hitting the portal is bad? Buckle up, guys.
He's just the first.
He is just the first. He's probably not even close to the most consequential of who's going to hit the portal. So we have that to look forward to in the coming days, because losing football games wasn't enough. Now you get to lose all the players who even have a chance of making it better next year. And that's what happens when you are a program that is doing terrible on the field, terrible in recruiting. I think they're 14th out of 16.
You said earlier 15.
Or is it 15? Okay, yeah. So signing day is on Wednesday, and UCF has the 15th of 16 classes in the Big 12. So there's nothing to hold on to.
At one time having the first.
Yes, there is. They were going to have a top 25 class, and now they're going to have an AAC level class. There is nothing to hold on to here. They are bad on the field. The good players are leaving. They're not bringing in new good players. There is nothing to hold on to. And for some reason, the administration is unsure if a change should be made, apparently, which is just something. I understand there's financial. I get that. I get it's not a one-to-one of just, well, let's do it, and there's things that have to be considered. But man, I don't see a future here.
Before this game happened, I said, on the way to the game, I said to you, I understand the financials of it, but you're doing more damage to your program by not just biting the bullet and taking care of it. Because
you know what really
you might put some stress on yourself financially as a program, but you at least can move toward a positive direction. All you're going to do now is sink yourself even further. I don't know how they get out of this, and we won't have to do the whole monologue like you said, but after 4 seasons now, the 4 seasons complete for Gus Malzahn at UCF. He's 28-24 overall. He's 7-18 against Power 5/Power 4 teams. 7-18. So you talk about 28-24. A bunch of those wins came against like your Kent States and your Sam Houstons and New Hampshires, all those, and it's just gone downhill. It went 9-4, 9-5, 6-7, 4-8.
Yeah. And I just can't fathom that we're here. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that this season, I mean, this entire offseason leading into the season was so much hype. And it was after they went 6-7 last year, Gus going up there on the podium and saying this didn't work and this was unacceptable. And we need to change how we do things around here. And for them to spend all the money they spent and to, ring up boosters for all this money and say, we're going to build a team that can show up and win the Big 12. And for us to believe that, and for national media to believe that, and for them to just have been so wrong and to not even have treaded water, this isn't a situation where, we thought they were going to take a big leap and they got marginally better. They actively got worse in virtually every capacity on this team. And whether Gus stays or not, even if Gus does stay, which like I said, is I think probably what's going to happen here, you're going to see major staff shakeups. You're going to see coaches fired, and that'll probably be cathartic for fans. I'm curious what coaches they fire, because I bet it's not going to be the ones who really should be fired. That's kind of how this is going to roll. I mean, Gus, and we already kind of know who's not going to be, because Gus was asked a little bit post-game, and Gus was lavishing praise on the defense's performance and talked about the good job Addison's done. I don't think Addison's going anywhere. Mm-hmm. That's fine. Whatever. It's just frustrating that what you said is correct, is that there just isn't – I understand the financial realities of this. I understand that it is not an easy thing to fire him. And I was so hopeful that what would happen is that he would do the right thing.
Catch a hint.
Agree to retire for some kind of amount of money in the middle. And I think what's frustrating about that to me is that when UCF hired Malzahn, the whole appeal there, a huge chunk of the appeal was you just had Frost and Heupel leave for better jobs. And they wanted a coach who's the guy who's going to choose UCF, who's going to embody UCF, who wants to be here. And when push came to shove, Gus is just like Heupel, they just like Frost did. He's just choosing himself. It is a selfish, ego-based decision for him to come back as head coach next year. There is no rhyme or reason or story you can spin where you can say that it is in UCF's best interest for him to be the coach next year. It's in Gus's interest, and that's it. And he's doing exactly what Heupel and Frost did. He's just choosing himself. And it's like we're in a weird situation where our program that we all care deeply for is kind of just his vanity project at this point. And we're just along for the ride as he tries to boost his own ego and say that
vanity project.
It does, but he's just dug himself in a hole and said, well, I can't go out a loser, so I have to keep trying to win. And next year's going to be the most lame duck season ever. And I mean, when has a coach ever gone downtrend year after year after year, getting worse, and then suddenly in year 5 it just clicks and it works? I mean, if they had some quarterback savior coming in, I could like talk myself into that, but they sure don't.
Did I tell you this afternoon? I was like, the only thing I could see is like if EJ was awesome and like he was the quarterback.
Well, he's going to be
year,
awesome for some really other team. So it's bleak. This game was rough. This game was really not fun at all. I was just waiting for it to be over, as a lot of people were. Now, what makes me extra sad for how bad things have gotten is that like all week we talked about how awful that crowd was going to be. Crowd was not bad at all.
Yeah, it wasn't.
Probably like 35,000 plus people, and they were loud and rocking when the game started. Then, of course, started pouring rain, and people left after that, and that's totally fine. And I get that, and I respect that. It is what it is.
I was a sucker for being one of the people who stayed and sat in pouring rain to watch a 4-7 team who has
played an awful
no
game.
Semblance of life.
Yeah, that was just two bad teams being bad, and I can't overstate how embarrassing it is. Really flat out embarrassing when you are UCF and you've already had this bad season. Like we're talking today, you and I were like, they'll win this game. Like Utah's on their fifth string. There isn't even a fifth string, guys. It's like they just found this dude. 5th string quarterback. They've been terrible all year. They haven't won since mid-September, and it's a home game, whatever. And I'm like, yeah, it's going to whatever. Like UCF hasn't been good, but they'll win this one at least.
UCF hasn't been good, but like they've at least like they've done stuff. Like this was the worst they've looked in.
Yes.
I don't know how long.
It's literally they have regressed as the season's gone along, from being competitive against Iowa State to then. I mean,
this was the worst they look all season.
This was the worst game they played this season. Totally lifeless. Defensively, it was whatever. Like defense pretty solid.
Yeah.
The offense was just so utterly dead in the water, start to finish. And you just kind of have to throw up your hands. It's like I don't know what the value is in breaking down why. I mean, I think the biggest takeaways for future seasons is just Dylan Risk. Guys, I wasn't wrong. I was just early on my FCS quarterback take. I mean, I'm exaggerating, obviously, but that was a really rough night. It was just so strange for a guy who's looked so good at times that it was, I don't know if he got in his head or what. He was missing every throw. I mean, it was just over and over on repeat. Receiver gets open. He overthrows them. He underthrows them. He misfires. He throws to a defender just on repeat. It was so strange.
It's like he lost all semblance of his confidence, and I wonder if it has anything to do with Gus screaming at him from the jump at West Virginia.
Is that your classic self-fulfilling prophecy, Gus? Like, I thought he was bad, but he's playing well.
Let me just scream at him.
I'm going to have to mentally destroy him until I was right.
I don't know. But, yeah, it was the only thing to take away from tonight was that RJ Harvey got the record. RJ Harvey scored both of UCF's touchdowns, which kind of felt fitting.
Yep.
And the fact
last
that he
play
just
of the offense tonight was
had no help around him. Like, that's just kind of...
O-line got beat up on tonight, guys. I'm amazed. Harvey, I'm going to tell you something right now, and you can correct me if you think it's outlandish, which maybe it is. I say lots of outlandish things. RJ Harvey breaking 100 yards tonight with that offensive performance is, I think, maybe the most impressive thing he did at UCF. It's not the most important thing he did at UCF, but getting over 100 yards when your O-line is getting ripped to shreds on every single play is crazy.
And there were so many plays where he was getting the ball and getting hit immediately.
Like behind the line of scrimmage. Yeah. Like I just literally the second the ball is in his hands, they're already in the backfield with him. I can't believe he got over 100 yards in this game. And I am bummed that it ended this way for him. And what I'm really bummed about more than anything with RJ is that he's incredible. He's one of the best UCF players ever, at worst, a top 5 UCF player. And because they never accomplish anything of note with him, he's just going to fade over time. And that's so not fair to him. And you might be saying now, no, that's not true. That's exactly what's going to happen 5 years from now. Whenever UCF has had success again, it's like the guys who were the good players while they were successful always are going to overshadow the guys who just happened. And I want to be clear, and no one listening to this, it's not like you need to be convinced of this, but I still feel like it has to be said. None of this season was RJ's fault. He gave his all every freaking down. I was always so impressed with him and so flabbergasted in some ways where there'd be situations where they're trailing and it's obvious the game's probably close to over. And he gets the ball and he only gets stopped after, I don't know, like 2 yards. And he's like punching the grass and so pissed and clearly wants the ball and gets it back and breaks off for like 25 yards. Like he never stopped trying to claw for every single freaking yard and every single score. And props to him because, man, this was a season where the way the season went, you're basically begging the players to give up. And he honestly never did.
Yeah, and I don't know. Like, it's the funny thing is with the way the whole season went, like you said, you're begging players to give up. I don't know that really at any point UCF players gave up.
I don't think so.
Like, I can't say that they quit on the season at any point, which I think in some senses is rare. I feel like there's always a point for a lot of teams where it's that bad and you want to quit. But I don't know. I don't even know where else to go from here. It's like is there anything else? Because I just this tweet popped up and it reminded me of just some funny things that happened tonight, and it's just what's going on with UCF in that, like, just random things keep happening.
I'm looking at your list, and there are things on here I want to talk about.
So there was the one fireworks playing in the middle of a play was one of the wilder things I've seen.
If you weren't at the game, I don't understand how this occurred. That UCF has the fireworks, which, by the way, so if you're listening, you probably know what a mortar is. It's the giant fireworks, the ones that make the big boom, the ones in the sky. I know the bounce house is higher than regular ground. I don't like that they fire this outside the stadium and they explode at like level of the upper deck. Like that really bothers me. But anyway, they somehow matched up this timing where UCF ran a third down play. UCF has the ball. I think was it a handoff?
No, Dylan threw the ball.
Okay, Dylan drops back to throw. Boom, boom, boom. The freaking, like, 3 mortars go off right outside the stadium. And you'll be shocked to know that after Dylan was bombed while trying to get the first down, he didn't get the first down. And UCF ended up having to punt.
He overthrew him, I think. It was off-target throw.
That was a decision, which, listen, I'd throw off target too if I was under attack while trying to throw a ball. And the other interesting choice that was made tonight was that, so the crowd was not as bad as I thought it would be. Then it's very cold. It's freezing cold. This sheet rain starts coming down, like just those awful waves of rain that are just all over you, and people leave the stands, obviously. The place pretty much empties out. 5 minutes into that, UCF goes, we have an idea, and they go, who's ready for lights up, lights down? And it is the saddest goddamn thing I have ever seen. I wish I'd taken a photo of this. I'm sure someone had it, where it is pouring rain. There is no one left in the stands.
I was in the stands, but I was like, I'm not taking my phone out.
It is literally, Bailey, I think there were across the whole stadium maybe 50 lights of people. And like, just kind of people like sadly, I just, who in their right mind was like, now is the time for this? And I understand they have like a script and they're like, it's time for lights up, lights down. Read the freaking room, guys. God, just like we can sit in silence for a minute and say, hey, there's no one in the stadium anymore. Maybe take that time to light off a few more mortars. They don't go off during the game later.
So the fireworks go off in the middle of one play. Later on, I think it was in the third or fourth quarter, the smoke that they shoot out on both sidelines during lights up, lights down, during all those things, those just went off in the middle of a play also.
I didn't even know that happened.
RJ was running, and he takes the handoff, and you just see, and I was like, what's going on? I was like, and then you add into all the fact that I saw some people saying tonight that concessions said like they were out, they were out of things.
They ran out of food again.
And I don't know. I'm just repeating something that one.
I saw
said.
Multiple people tweet that, so I'm assuming that was.
No, true. I'm just the thing I'm about to repeat that I only saw one person say was that one of the staffers, who obviously not their fault, was told just use what you have. Like, not a lot of people are going to be here. Somebody said that. I don't know if it's true. I'm just spewing it now onto a podcast, so that's great. But I did see someone say that. And this is 3 weeks after the food poisoning thing.
Yeah.
They're having to throw out all the food. So I don't know. Everything.
I don't know if we ever talked about in the podcast. If you don't know what that is, the Stadium Club's food was shut down by a food inspector mid-game a few weeks ago. So
yeah, and so I don't know. Everything's going downhill at UCF, and that's.
But I want to say something on that. I part of what made me so frustrated is before the sheet rain and the bombing, is that when that crowd was there and they're amped and they're energetic and everyone's jumping up and down and the press box is shaking, and I'm like, this staff has like beaten up and thrown down and kicked the hell out of this fan base, and they're still here on senior night. And that is such a powerful thing and not a thing that you see at a lot of schools. And I'm just frustrated that there's still so much energy here. There's still a fan base that is large and wants this to succeed. And what sucks is that you do another year like this, and that is going to degrade, and they're not going to automatically come back. Let's talk about some of the big lies of UCF football. Like, let's be clear about one thing. Most of the 2017 season, the crowds weren't awesome. Because 2015 and 2016 of them just winning 6 games had done that level of damage. It took until 2018 for the stadium to get back to what it had been like during the Fiesta Bowl year in 2014. I mean, 2017, there was a game where Danny White, this whole pitch of we're going to sell out the stadium. Let's do it. Let's get a sellout. Because that was like an unusual thing at the time. They got like 36,000 people at the game.
The first big crowd, I think, well, big, but the first like sellout crowd of that season was the USF game, wasn't it?
That was literally the first sellout crowd. And the conference title game against Memphis was not a sold-out game.
No, but that still was a very impressive
crowd. It was a great crowd. But the point I'm making is that when you do multiple years of not being good, it's not like the fans just flick back an on switch and come back as soon as you are. They need to build up trust again. And God, UCF's lost a lot of trust, but the fan base is still here right now. You do another year of this. You bring Gus back and you go 5-7 next year, even 6-6. Like, are we supposed to call that a win next year?
No.
If they just, they got back to a bowl because that's the goal now?
No, but that's like, I think that's the best. I mean, I don't know. We're sitting here in November.
Yeah.
But it feels like that would be the best case scenario with what we know now.
That's so nuts to me.
I don't see how they build this roster in a way that's going to do anything more than that as the ceiling. We'll see.
Now, I'll back off on that just because I understand college football is weird and things happen. And there's the argument that you're always a quarterback away, right?
Yeah.
You're always a quarterback away. Nothing that Gus has done in 4 years here implies he's going to get a quarterback where that's going to work.
That's why I don't regret saying that, is because yeah, a lot can change in 1 year. I just don't think that this, especially Gus, but Gus and this staff and this whole regime is going to be able to do that, to have that kind of transformation in one offseason.
What do you mean? EJ Coulson is the future?
Oh,
wait. I mean, I can't believe that it's 2024 and they screwed up another young quarterback. I mean, I'm like wrapping my head around this in real time since we just found out he did it again.
Let me think of this. So 2021, I mean, this isn't all their fault, but I'm trying to think. They've lost a quarterback each year, right? So 2021, Gabriel leaves. Yep. 2022, it's Mikey.
Yep.
2023, it's Tommy.
I don't even want to – just saying it like that doesn't do justice
no,
to the situation.
But
like 2021 was we have to use Joey Gatewood or we'll die for some reason. And that being an unmitigated mess. 2022 was John Rice Plumlee versus Mikey Keene and all the mess that was that. And that's not even the big issue of 2022. The big issue of 2022 was them having a fight between those two quarterbacks, between John Rice Plumlee and Mikey Keene. And somehow in the process, when the dust settled, Tommy Castellanos had burned a red shirt. And then he transfers out. And there's been lots of behind the scenes talk about promises that were broken and things like that. Of like, I think Tommy was more than justified deciding to move on. He was maybe not treated the best by that staff, whatever. Again, that's all rumors, but you hear stuff.
Believable rumors.
Then you go into 2024 or 2023 and it's just whatever. And it's like, here we are. It's 2024. They've recruited a new young quarterback. They're like, we got EJ. He's the future.
A year early.
Oh, no. We immediately pissed him off by starting him and benching him for something that wasn't his fault and then starting every other quarterback over him, and now he's leaving. How could you blame EJ for leaving after what happened? It's like this staff, it's screwing up quarterbacks. It's like a magnet to them. They just have to do it. They get a quarterback and they're like, how can we make him hate us? Like that's their goal when they bring a quarterback in. And whatever is there, and this is funny, is there a quarterback in this class or no?
No.
Okay, cool. You know what's great when you just lost it? Because it was going to be EJ Coulson. The 2025 class signs on Wednesday and they've already lost their 2025 quarterback to the portal. That is so impressive. They're now lapping themselves. I really can't wrap my head around how so horrifically badly quarterback has been managed. And sure, I can't wait for 2025 when we get Shakari Brown, who's a Plumlee clone of going to be very fun and not going to win any football games. I'm very much looking forward to that. Do you have anything else, Bailey?
No. I'm so the one thing I can say is, at least in terms of on the field stuff, on the field product, and watching, I don't know, whatever that offense was. And I mean, sad not to get to watch RJ Harvey anymore, but watching Gus Malzahn's offense, which is way slower than what we got used to seeing under the previous two coaches, and they're subbing every single play and having to burn timeouts in the first quarter on their first drive because they had to sub and the other team rightfully took the clock all the way down.
Yep.
So all that stuff, watching the defense do whatever the defense does, which they weren't that bad. They weren't bad. Actually, they weren't bad at all tonight, honestly. Yeah.
Have I been pushing you off screen as we've been doing this? I
don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. But saying all that, watching all of that, we don't have to watch it anymore. UCF on the field can't hurt you anymore.
We're free until the spring game, guys.
They can't even hurt you. I guess they could hurt you in the spring
game.
Don't
believe the lies and the propaganda. Don't believe it. Don't go into that spring game and be like, I'm excited to see someone, because you won't be. I'm telling you, it's going to be bad. I'm sure I'll find Cope between now and our next podcast. Hey, TCU, they joined the Big 12. They went from 7-6 to 4-8 to winning the Big 12 in year 3. So UCF should just do that.
Don't do
Really
that.
quickly before
Don't
Jim Harbaugh, things were going very badly at Michigan. They decided to give him one more year, and then it became a dynasty.
Don't do that.
There's a roadmap, guys. It's great. UCF, they're going to win all the games. Can't wait. Really quickly, and then we're going to get out of here because I'm sick of this. We have to talk about one very important thing that happened tonight. No. We're not even getting into that. They look great, guys, but I'm not in the headspace for that.
What happened tonight? I don't know.
RJ Harvey threw a pass.
Oh.
The meme came true. I could see Gus smiling at the burners on Twitter, as they called that one. And it was a nice completion for a first down by RJ Harvey. Actually, probably a better throw than anything we saw from Risk, which sort of leads to its own.
There were calls after that for him to be the quarterback for the rest of the night.
I would have been down. It would have been worse
the way the offense was going.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We put EJ in earlier and then watch him leave an hour later.
That EJ pick six. I love that. That's his lasting legacy at UCF. That was great.
Cool. You know what? I think I don't know. His lasting legacy to me is being the one who threw RJ Harvey's last UCF touchdown. That feels kind of cool. To
the new era handing off to the old era, except the new era is already out the door. I think EJ's lasting legacy is, oh my God, I can't believe they Tommy Castellanos to quarterback again. I don't know how else to say it. It's insane.
Yeah.
But all right, I want to stop.
All right. Yeah.
It's 1:20 a.m., guys. I am in no mood for this, but we did it anyway because we love you guys.
It's true.
Let me say really quickly. Let me keep saying I keep going to you.
I'm trying to close out. I'm trying to close
we're in a loop where I look at you and I go, Bailey, I'm done. I don't want to do this. Then you try to end the podcast and go, wait. And say really, really quickly. I was reminded when I said I love you guys. This season has sucked. No one's had fun. We haven't had fun. To each and every one of you, whether you listen to one episode or all of them, thank you so much for sticking with us. Yeah. This is what makes this seasons like this bearable for me, is interacting with you guys, doing this podcast for you guys, and I hope we help make the season a little more bearable for you.
Yeah, I hope so. I appreciated the messages we get after losses when everyone's like, I was mad, and then listened to the podcast and got mad all over again. And I think it's funny that you guys do that, but I really do appreciate it. And I don't know. If I was you, well, actually, I don't want to say that. No,
Bailey's about to tell people to stop listening to the podcast.
I'm I just don't know why you do it. Like, I'm flattered that you guys still listen to us. When this is happening on the field and within this regime, I don't know. It's horrible, but no, we appreciate it a lot. It's really cool.
We'll have some fun this offseason. Probably some doom and gloom fun, but some fun nonetheless. And hey, maybe basketball will win some more games. We can focus on that for a little bit.
Sometimes and this is like a curse, I think. I feel as if sometimes we do our best podcasting when things are doom and gloom. And
most of our best podcasts
get kind of deliriously we're getting mortar bombed by fire.
I was going to say, it's easy to be like, oh yeah, Mackenzie Milton, he's good. They won another game. It's not easy to break down when your team sets off mortars over your quarterback trying to complete a pass. Like, that's when you have to really break things down as a podcaster. And I feel we've done that tonight.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Is there anything else you want to cut me off with before I close out the podcast?
No, I'm good.
Okay, cool. I swear you're going to do it. You're going to do it as a joke.
I was good.
Yeah, I knew you were. I know you too well by now. All right. Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back soon with episode 246. Until then, you can find us on Twitter at BaileyJAdams22, at @ByCASimmons, at Night Sports Now, and at Pegasus Podcast. Thank you guys so much for being with us, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.